welcome back to Those Two Geeks. My name's Joe. No, my name's not Joe. His name's Joe. My name's Alex.
I should have let us in. Well, in
I,
case you didn't
I
know,
can
his
tell you I
name's
can tell you exactly how that happened. I was like, oh right, don't forget to introduce Joe. So I did before. Anyway, so if this is your first time listening, my name is not Joe. My name's Alex.
hmm
Joe is the gentleman about to speak in a minute. I'm sure. If it's
yeah.
not your first time listening, then that wouldn't have surprised you in any way, shape, or form.
No, not at all. Unequivocally wouldn't have surprised anybody.
No,
But my God, that's the best intro so far. Um,
I love that when you do the intro, it's well done. When I do it, there's a 50% chance it's going to get
yeah,
fucked up. And every time we'll leave it in unless it's really bad.
yeah.
And even
Um,
then, it's still probably left in.
and the only time the intro is stellar is when Matthew does it. It's
I
like the
100% agree.
the Michael Buffer of our intros. It's
Right?
really, really good. But yeah, no, it feels like it's been a hot minute since
I
we've talked, but it
I
hasn't been
think
too long.
no, I think it feels longer because the last time we actually had a because last week I did it alone. The week before that
Yes.
we had a lot shorter time recording time just
Mm-hmm.
through technology issues. And
Yep.
then I think the one before that you weren't feeling great and we couldn't
Yeah.
line up a time. So like, oh whatever, I'm happy to go alone. So
Yep.
it feels like it's been a lot longer than it has.
Yeah.
It feels like it's it feels just we haven't had a chance to actually sit down and chat, I think is what's
Mm-hmm.
going on. So
Exactly. So I know we were just talking about what our topic was going to be, but
hmm
typical to the show, I'm going to change it.
oh, that's fine.
um,
They don't
we'll
know what
get to your
the
we'll
yeah,
get to
they
your
don't know what the
topic.
topic was going to be anyway. So.
Yeah, we'll get to that topic in a little bit, but so I wanted to discuss because it's starting to hit the UK right now, of all
Hmm.
places, the Maximum Spider-Man figure.
Yep.
It's starting to get in people's hands, and this is a very polarizing figure.
I have seen so many QC issues
Yeah.
on this, and they all
y-
seem to be on the head. Funnily enough.
Yeah. And then, yeah, the one thing that's really getting me on it is the eyes are spaced so far apart in hand.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh wow,
I've
that's a
I've seen
difference.
quite a few where the web lines on the front and the back of head, where the molding would have been joined
Yeah.
together, or the molds would have been.
Yep.
The paint lines aren't lining up, but they did the front half. Oh, we'll just do the back half, and they don't line up. I don't understand how you can have Toy Biz Spider-Man from the mid '90s look better than this in terms of paint applications.
Yeah, exactly. And this thing costs $50. And the other
Yeah,
thing is people are getting it out of hand. Like I have friends who've gotten it on YouTube and they're like, wow, I mean it's a Spider-Man. They're like it's not so much different from any of the others that are out right now on the pegs that you're getting some crazy value. And these are people who usually I don't want to say shill because they don't shill, but they mark
they
out hard for
appreciate. Yeah,
Hasbro products. And I think this is not um the best debut for this maximum line. If they think they're going to get characters out of this,
it,
if it
so
goes this route, they're going to get crucified. Because if
is it
they
a
do
different? Is it a different sculpt than the Renew Your Vows body?
it's a different buck completely. Yeah, it's different because he's lankier and taller.
Oh, okay.
He's not as stout, and I'll be honest, I like that part better.
Yeah, I haven't seen any in-hand comparisons between the Renew Your Vows and the Maximum.
He's slightly taller than the Renew Your Vows, I'd say by like a quarter of an inch. No, not even. Maybe like a I don't
Like
know,
an
an
eighth of an
eighth of
inch
an
or so.
inch.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little bit taller. But I will tell you this: I thought this thing was going to be a Mafex killer. It is not going to be a Mafex killer at all. I got my Mafex out of the box because I'm moving, and I was
Yeah.
just playing around with some stuff, appreciating it. Um, this thing is by Mafex is by far and away the best Spider-Man I've ever seen. It's so good. And
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, and the other thing was I was getting in crazy poses yesterday, like butter. The range of motion
Yep.
is insane on the Mafex too. And This is what happens when you don't take a figure out of a box and you just like
for a while.
look at it in plastic and say, "Oh yeah,
Yeah,
no, this thing is incredible." But I
I
should have known because I was playing around with the Daredevil. Did I show you the Daredevil?
I may have
I didn't show you a picture of the Daredevil in the.
not recently.
Okay, so I got the Mafex Daredevil because Born Again. It just happened to like coincide at the same time that they
I'm
re-released the
surprised you were
Mafex.
able. I don't know. I'm surprised you were able to get a hold of it because I feel like it's
It's
much
extremely
harder.
hard to get.
Yeah.
He just popped up in stock randomly, like the week that Born Again premiered, and I got
Oh,
him. It was like right around my birthday. I got him. Actually, let me send it to you right now. I could have swore I've sent this, but I guess not. So
you may have, and I just may have missed it. Sure.
yeah, but I'll send it to you
Have you
right now.
heard
But
of? Speaking of articulated figures, have you? I told you that my friend 3D printed me one of the dummy.
yes,
Yeah, I have not seen a more articulated figure than this in my life.
yeah,
Like I will.
that thing looks incredible. The
It's
way it moves and
yeah,
engineered.
like it's absolutely insane. Now I think when I was putting it together, I may have jammed the elbow a little bit.
Yeah,
So one of the elbows is a lot looser than you would like.
yeah,
And I lost the kneecap somehow. And he's like, "Oh, whatever, I'll print you another one. It's not a big deal."
right,
So
exactly. I mean, it's just I got the material. I'll print it for you.
yeah, so he said eventually he'll next time he's using the color that he did it in, he'll print one out for me.
Yeah,
Um, but you can like I said, I got it in pink, so I was thinking I was going to test it as being a Sentinel, but there
for a
is
Sentinel. Yeah,
yeah, that it's like he can hug his legs that are extended with his face on the shins.
it's incredible. Yeah,
It's
the movement,
absolutely
the range of
insane.
motion is insane.
And like because the because I got it like I said I got it in pink. The pink spots on the figure. If you haven't seen this, folks, I really suggest googling it because there's no way I can accurately describe it. And
No,
obviously we're not doing this on video, so
no.
but you can get apparently Spider-Man armor in place of the pink or whatever color you're doing that printing in.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
you would almost have a 3D printed Spider-Man figure or Spider-Man homage figure, I suppose. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
much more of like a bot than it is anything else.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think it would look absolutely fantastic. If Spider-Man could do this, if you had a Spider-Man figure that could do this, you would
Yeah.
never need another one again.
The closest one I can think of is the Sentinel Spider-Man from the Peter B. Parker. That thing was the
Mm,
most bendable Spider-Man I've ever seen in my life. But it also had like cutouts in the back of the kneecap calf section that would allow it to crouch. So like they
yeah,
shaved off parts of the kneecap and the calf.
yeah, and
And
the
it's
same one for this one too. It's like so the calf is got a gap in it, and so
yep,
does
same.
the under thigh as well. So you can,
Yeah. So you can crouch it into a
yeah,
perfect crouch or like a
yep.
yoga position even.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's
Like
crazy.
he
But
can put his foot behind his head.
yeah, it's amazing. But like pivoting and yeah, please put that link in this in the show notes and also send me
Mm,
the link too. But the thing is with this Spider-Man, I don't know if this is going to be the home run that they're looking for because people out the gate, even YouTubers who like are really hard Habsbro, stands and like supporters are like this isn't, so much different that it justifies it. Like I'm seeing people are appreciating the bare forearms with the web shooters. I'm
yep.
appreciating that. That is so cool. Like what an innovation that is so simple. Just pop off the forearm. Never
Yeah.
thought of it before because it's a
Like,
glove and it makes perfect sense. Doesn't break
and I
up the
mean,
sculpt.
you've done it for the Shocker, right? Like he's had
Yes, exactly. The Shocker
replaceable
did it.
forearms, so it's not like they haven't thought of it before.
No, it's just genius to do it for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But like the webs people are making fun of. They're saying these should have been bendy wire, like they're just useless. They're repacked in webs, like all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Honestly, I understand that. I do
Yeah,
because
right.
like it's one of those things where I get it because
Hmm.
it's like if you're paying that much for it,
Yeah.
and realistically, I know it's a new sculpt, but it doesn't look like it. So if they'd have reused an older sculpt, people would have been even
Yeah.
more angry.
Oh yeah, I would have. So what I also want to ask you is, I have both yours and mine on pre-order, and it should be coming in within the next, I don't know, 2 weeks
I
or so. Do you want
on
it
it.
still?
No, I don't think I do,
Okay. All
because
right.
it's a ton of it's a lot of money on a figure, and if it's not as mind blowing as you would think, then
Yeah.
you know,
I love this thing because this thing looks like the Deadpool drip in the back. Like it looks like it
yeah,
almost looks like Deadpool. It's so good. But do you see the Daredevil I sent you?
I do. Yeah, I do.
He's great. He's so good. Like I understand why that figure is in such high demand.
Yep. It's
But
funny. So I always find it funny when looking at Mafex. They look like he looks like the early movie Daredevil with the articulation,
yeah,
but Mafex articulation is deceptive because it's a lot more subtly done.
it
So
is.
you don't see how articulated it is until you get it into a place where you're like, oh hey, this guy
I'm
can
gonna send
do
you some Spider-Man poses later with the
yeah.
Mafex Spidey, just so you understand. It Marvel Legends, I still think the Maximum Spidey isn't as articulated as the Spidey I have in my my box. There's no way because he can do like he has crazy deep butterflies
Mm.
without upsetting the sculpt and everything like that. I mean, we'll see. I'm gonna get it in hand, so I'll cancel yours since you don't want it. Um,
Yeah, and if
but
it's one of those things. If I ever find it down the road and oh man, and have regrets, well, that's fine.
yeah,
I'm
my
fine
retro
with that. But
Spider-Man is still my all-time favorite Spider-Man. The one
yeah,
from 2020. It's by far my favorite. I love the sculpt. I love the build on it. I think everything about it's perfect. I like the head size. That was the one thing with Renew Your Vows that always bothered me. The head was just a little too big.
mm,
Just a little too big, I feel. Because I was looking at it yesterday. I was like, oh, it is a little too big. Um, but yeah, I mean, this is not great for Hasbro. If the like GI Joe seems to be just killing it. They never
yeah,
seem to miss, and they just announced finally my figure that I've wanted for the longest time. Um, whoa, for the longest time. Stupid song. Um,
that's going to be in
so
your head now all day.
yeah, I know. Um, Armored Cobra Commander has been
Mm,
announced, and we know I've been talking about that since like the His tank. I'd
yep.
be like, if they would just let Arbor Cobra Commander go with it, if they would just let like even the Rattler, I think I was like, if they would include an armored Cobra Commander. Well, now they're finally doing it.
Well,
But
now
speaking,
there is one, and you have no excuse,
yeah, wow, look at that thing. Thing is ridiculous. Now,
right?
speaking of armor, have you seen the GI Joe Snake armor robot?
No.
Oh, I want you to just type this in. Type in GI Joe Snake, all capitals, SNAKE. I don't know what the acronym stands for, but just type it in and see what you think. Thing is amazing, amazing, and Hasbro's offering it for like $75, and it's like this is $75, but yet you offer maximum Spidey for 50. I mean, for $25 less. You can't justify it.
Yeah. Now, granted, I think the one that's come up is the original one.
Oh yeah, no, you need to look at the GI Joe classified.
Yeah.
Like, let me see if I can find it. Brady, don't help me, pup. All right, hold on one sec.
Oh, but
He's hung.
he's willing to.
He's hungry. He's like,
Oh,
hey. All right, all right, all right, all right.
that's from a month ago, right?
Yeah, it was from Toy Fair or whatever. No, hold on. Yeah, I think so. Hold on. Let me let me look it up. All right. I'm just gonna go Hasbro Pulse because it's on Hasbro
Yeah,
Pulse.
yeah, fair enough. Oh yeah, I see
Yeah.
it.
You see it?
Yep. I
Look,
funny enough on the histank.com.
that thing is so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool. You can fit figures in it, and when
That
you fold the front part of the armor down, it has a ladder rung that like they can walk up. Like it's so detailed the way they did it.
see
The GI Joe is just killing it
if you
on
they could
all
do
this
that
stuff.
with Iron Man or a Hulk cluster armor.
Well, that's my whole thing. So I'm sitting there looking at it, going, people are praising the Hulkbuster and how fucking great it is. To me, I'll be very honest with everybody. I never bought it because it looked like a giant piece of candy red plastic. It
Fair.
just, for some reason, it doesn't look like. I mean, does it look like Hulkbuster armor? Yes, it does. But does it look like not a big blocky toy? No, it just looks so toyish. Now, mind you, the irony is these are all toys, but you don't want your
However,
toys to look like toys.
it
It's the
no
whole point.
exactly. It's a funny dichotomy where you don't
It
want it
is.
to look like a toy, but you're aware that it is a toy.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to find my dog's little thing for his snack because
Oh,
he's going
the
the
Kong.
Kong, yeah, because he's going
Yeah,
wild. He wants it right now, and I'm like, I can't find it. And he's like, where is it?
like I need my food.
Like Rachel, where is she?
Yeah,
But I'm gonna show you something while I have you. And unfortunately, my earbuds died, and I didn't have time to charge them. But from that noise you can hear, you might even get peanut butter in the picture. I don't know. Hold on, because the dog is just staring. I'm trying to do two things at once. But
yeah.
look at this. I want to show you this, and you can. Yeah, there we go. You cannot compare it. I love how we're just sending photos back and forth. No
I
one
know.
can see it.
I, so, folks, for context, I've just been sending Joe pictures of the dummy 13 in a superhero pose or gymnastics and stuff.
But
Again, like I recommend just googling it because if you're
but
listening to us, you're not going to be looking at the show notes at this point, I'm sure.
but it's so funny because like this thing, everyone's praising Hasbro for the neck situation. It's exactly what this Mafex has, and I didn't even notice it because I didn't really take it out of the box. But like, I'm gonna show you on like a clean floor. Like, let me get better. There we go. Why is it so blurry? But like, the joints are done so much better. My dog
Mm,
is telling you. I'm gonna send it to you right now, Brady. You gotta chill out. Like, I'm tempted to give him the whole bottle of peanut butter because he's just gonna be a tyrant until I do. But I can't do that because then
yeah. Then
he'll
you'll
be
get
wired.
used to it.
Yeah, but check that. Like this is ridiculous. The butterflies, he can do the perfect.
Oh yeah.
Like, hold on, I'll show you. And this is without any crazy gappage in the figure or anything like that.
It it's funny. So I don't own any Mafex, and I've always said I don't want to get any because that's one line I don't want to get into as well. Like
Right.
one more line I don't need, but at the
Right.
same time, I can always respect and appreciate
Oh, it's
that
incredible.
if it if you're looking for a definitive version of anything, Mafex is probably the way to go.
Yeah, exactly. Especially X Men. I'll tell you right now, Mafex is the definitive X Men.
Yeah, their Gambit is fantastic,
Yeah,
absolutely
Gambit's the
fantastic.
best. The best
Because
Mafex figure. Period.
ironically enough, it's the soft
Cape. I mean,
coat.
coat.
Yeah, I almost said cape too, so don't.
Yeah, I know. It's the soft coat that does it. It
Hmm.
really is. So look at that picture I just sent you of Mafex.
Yeah, that's nuts. Absolutely nuts.
So
Um,
the Hasbro one can't
folks,
do that.
for those of you who are not aware of the picture that, and there's no way you would be,
Yeah,
it was a
exactly. I don't
picture
know
of
how they'd be
Spider-Man,
aware.
yeah, in a perfect web swinging pose, like arms up, holding the same imaginary line of web with the legs in
Mm-hmm.
a very natural and yet Spider-Man-esque pose.
Mm-hmm.
It it's one of those things where you just can't. As good as Marvel Legends are, I don't think they're ever going to really get to that point. And by the time they do, you're going to be paying the same for the Mafex anyway,
Yeah. Without
if not a.
sacrificing the sculpt either.
Yeah, exactly. So
This thing
it,
has perfect sculpt.
yeah, like when I look at a Mafex figure, initially I'm like, there's not a lot of articulation there compared to a Legend. It's because it's better hidden, right?
It's way
Like
better
it's
hidden. Look at this Spider-Man.
yeah, exactly. Like it's one of those things where it's just way better hidden.
Like, and I'll even give you another pose, which is just like this is a crazy one. Like you can see this. It looks like a Mark Bagley panel come to life, which
Hmm.
makes it so incredible. On top of this, let me show. This is the pose right here. Like, look at this thing. I feel like I can pose this and make like stop motion comic books out of
I
it.
was gonna say, so it looks like it's the you're using it as you can always use that figure as an artist tool to see what can
Yeah,
Spider-Man physically do,
exactly.
right?
So
And
take a look at that last photo.
yeah, like I wouldn't have thought the torso could bend that way, but it looks
It's
like there's a
so
double.
good.
It looks like a double ball joint, and I thought there was just one ball joint in a cut waist, but
The
it's
only
it's
thing it
not.
cannot do, the one pose it cannot do, and I've noticed, and it's just because the way it's set up. And this thing is also about 3 years old, which
Mm.
even shows more of the
The progress that
innovation.
they've made, yeah.
Um, he can't do that full on Spider-Man crouch pose like he's on a building with his knees up over his shoulders. He just can't do that pose.
There's not many figures that can do that
It's such a
pose.
hard one that now
Yeah,
that's the only thing the Marvel thing can do over it. The Marvel can do that. And is it worth $50 for it? I so I'm sick with it. I'm gonna buy it, and it's already on
yeah,
pre-order for me. I'm getting it. I need it in hand. Plus, it's a Todd McFarlane Spider-Man. Mark Bagley and Todd McFarlane are my two favorite Spider-Man
yeah,
artists, besides John Romita Sr. And I need it. I've been asking for a Todd McFarlane
yeah.
Spider-Man forever.
You have, and a lot of the accessories are really good. Like they look
Yeah.
fantastic.
The thing about the Mafex is Mafexes are so beautiful, but you feel like you're handling an art piece all the time. And if you break a Mafex, you're gonna be pissed at yourself. You're
Yeah.
gonna be like, "Ah, shit." You break a
Whereas it
Marvel Legend, even a $50 one, you're like, "Well, I can get a replacement for this most likely." You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Yep.
Mafex, they sell out of stock, and then they're not. Hence why I put them back in the box when I'm done with them. I literally just clicked it back in the box because when I'm done fiddling with it, it doesn't go into a plastic bin.
No, because that's the kind of thing you don't want to inadvertently damage one way or another.
Yeah, but even like look at the things like the deco. Look at
Yep.
like how beautiful the paint is. It's so beautiful that blue. Now
It
Marvel,
is. Like the red and the blue on that figure
oh
are very classic
yeah,
Spider-Man colors. It's not too dark.
not too light.
Interestingly, I did read initially Spider-Man was meant to be black and red, eh?
Yeah, he was originally going to be black and red. Yeah,
Yeah. And it's just the way the coloring works on
on that
yeah,
paper.
coloring at the time, yeah, that the blue was going to be shading as opposed like to highlight the shadows on the figure and then it just came, oh, he's blue and red instead of black and red. Honestly, I'm fine either way. It's one of those costumes where the red is the most important bit, and
Yes.
blue or black doesn't make a huge difference.
No, it doesn't. I like either or because
Yeah,
I liked Tom Holland with the red and black on.
yep.
Yeah.
Now,
So like,
I think if the red and the black, like if he had black where the red is and the web lines were done in red, I think that would look a bit weird. But
yeah,
for the
yeah, yeah.
most part, when you look at Spider-Man, the where the blue is, that color I find is almost interchangeable with a few other versions of it,
Right.
or a few other colors. Not many, but black, white, a couple of things could work well with Spider-Man for that.
That other, the other, like keeping on the thing of figures.
Yeah.
This is why I tell you you need a Mafex or a CT Toys Wolverine in your
Mm,
life. You need one badly. Get the CT Toys Wolverine. I think they have the yellow one now, the yellow and blue, because the brown ones I think are sold out.
yeah.
But they're $30, and
Oh,
it,
that's just it. Like realistically, those are the same price as a Legend.
yeah, it far exceeds a legend too. Like that Wolverine. Like I'm packing up stuff. That Wolverine is still out of the box in front of my his tank. He'll probably
Mm,
be the last guy packed because but it's also like if I break him, I don't feel horrible because it's like, oh God, he's $30, you
yeah,
know? And everyone's like, oh, but he's a knockoff. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
yeah.
In hand,
He,
you cannot tell the
he's a
difference.
knockoff, and that's why he's $30.
Yeah. The other thing is though, so they have a Helverine of this Wolverine, CT
I
Toys.
saw that, and I'd also read that.
Dude, it
So
looks so amazing.
I was reading that the skull design was ripped off from someone else,
Yeah.
and I part of me was thinking that sucks, and yet then I'm also like I'm also not surprised because company that is literally ripping off Mafex for their business model also ripped off someone else.
Yeah, exactly. It is. It
Like
is.
I can't say I'm surprised.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I'm happy about it, but I can't
No.
say I'm surprised.
But here's the thing too. They're starting to do characters that haven't really been done. So yes, while they're ripping people off, they're also doing their own, like, I don't know, kit bashes or whatever. They're like,
Yeah,
Wolverine's a bad example because it's really the brown suit Wolverine with a new head and new claws,
yeah,
and those
exactly.
claws
It's
are
not
unreal.
a huge change in things.
Those fire claws are so cool in it.
Yep.
Um, but they're planning on doing a Spider-Man Kane, like with the black and red suit.
Oh,
I
Scarlet
need that
Spider.
the
Yep.
second that comes out because you got me stuck on that freaking run and it was so good.
I told you.
I'm
It's
only on issue 12, but it is so good.
yeah. There's a crossover coming up between Spider-Man, Venom, Agent Venom, and Scarlet Spider.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. Yes, go. I'm on that issue. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Where they're in like
it's
the microverse.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
that's really good.
yeah. There's a couple of really good crossovers in that run.
Yeah.
Um, I think Wolverine was in one of them as well at one
Oh
point. But
shit. The run is just good. It's just so good. Never did I think I'd like I've always liked Kane as a villain or an anti-hero. I
yep,
didn't know I'd like him so much as a Spider-Man type character.
he works so well because he's the epitome of the reluctant hero. Like
Yes.
he
So
doesn't want to do it, but he's a Parker. He does care,
yeah.
and he gets stuck in with the his sequel to that is the New Warriors, written by the same guy.
Yep.
So it's very much a case of Kane is also the reluctant. I don't want to do this, but he's dragged into it as well for
Right.
various reasons, and it's just really good the way it works out.
Yeah,
But
it's just a good book. It really
yeah,
is. And so speaking of books, Batman Hush 2 comes out this week coming up.
the
You,
trade or the
no, the new
no,
series, Hush
yeah.
2. So it's in Batman 158 for 6
Okay,
issues. But they're 14.99 an issue because they're like triple sized.
that is going to annoy people, I'm sure, when comics are three times the price of what they used to be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, I'm going to get it. I've already put
I'm
in for
I'm
it.
still gonna get it. I'm just annoyed that it's that much more.
And let's face it, like I, Hush was a great story for me. I loved Hush.
Hush
But
was one of the first Batman stories I remember reading like 20 some years ago when I was starting to get into Batman.
yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, it's I'd read a lot of parts of No Man's Land, and I think I'd read maybe
No
War
Man's Land
Games
is
around the same
good.
time.
I
I
would rather
enjoyed
an abridged version of it, like a
Agreed.
shorter version. It's just so vast.
I'd actually read No Man's Land, but I had read the third and fourth trades, I think.
Yeah,
And so for me, it almost was abridged because you got an idea as to what happened,
yeah.
and Batman's then slowly coming back. That you missed the first half, and ironically, the last trade I missed as well, which wasn't the end of the world at the
One
time.
thing I love about No Man's Land, one of my favorite scenes in Batman of all time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is in the end of No Man's Land, the very end of No Man's Land, and it's Commissioner Gordon in his backyard,
Yep, I know what you're
and
saying. Yeah,
Bruce is about to reveal his secret to him. Like Bruce is pulling the cowl away, and Commissioner Gordon's got his back turned to him, and he's like, "No, don't." He's like, "I
yeah.
don't want to know
He
because it will
actually
make."
takes the cowl off,
Okay,
and
so I haven't
he
read it in so
stand
many years,
yeah he's standing there without the cowl on, and Gordon's got his back to him. He's like, I don't want to know.
and he's like, "In some ways, I've always known, but
Yeah,
I just don't want to officially know because it would like put an ethics thing on him or whatever."
yeah.
And
He's like, I appreciate the trust and everything, but I cannot know.
yeah, I just think that's one of the best Batman scenes of all time. It's one of my
Agreed.
favorite Batman scenes in a comic book. It's something so subtle and so easy, but it's just so powerful with Gordon.
Yep.
and Bruce revealing to him, because Bruce really never reveals to anybody who he is. He tries his hardest
He,
to.
yeah, no, exactly. Like he, unless it's like the villain finds out, for the most part, he
Yeah.
will not reveal if he can help it.
Now the only thing I don't like, so this is what I don't understand. Hush 2, Hush the sequel. Is it going to pretend like all the other Hush stories didn't happen? Is it going to be like its own canon, or is it going to be
I
canon? Because if it's canon, it's lost a lot of its luster because Hush has been
Yep.
in like 20 stories. He's part of Batman, Rogues Gallery now. This would work so much better if we haven't seen Hush again until now. You know
I'm
what I mean?
curious too because I honestly I will be fine either way. Like I don't mind if we're starting to do a very subtle Batman reboot where
Same.
things are, oh look, it's Hush, it's the first time in a long time, etc., etc. Like I'm
Hmm.
fine with that. I don't
Yep.
mind that. If that's how things make sense and that's how they want to go,
Yeah.
fantastic. Like
Right.
it's absolutely fine. I just think it's maybe I'm old enough now that I'm like, hey, I'm going to enjoy this no matter what. It's going to be what it's going to be, sort of thing. Like I don't know.
Yeah. So the long-winded point I was trying to make is Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee created something magical with Hush.
Yes, they did.
Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee did not create something magical with Superman for Tomorrow. It was the same idea. It came out like a year after Batman Hush, or 2 years after Batman Hush, because Jim Lee takes a while to draw. But it was 12 issues as well, and it was terrible. It was so fucking bad. In the middle of it, it just became an excuse to see who Jim Lee could draw in the Justice League and what would a Justice League Jim Lee book would look like
And
before
it,
the new 52, and that's what we got. This story was just absolutely dreadful. It was
yeah,
Zod was the villain. Coolest redesign for Zod ever. He was in like some like it looked like medieval armor type thing,
yeah,
but it was just a picture book. Whereas Batman Hush had substance and a story to it. And
yes.
what was cool was genuinely you've never seen Hush before, so it was a murder mystery. It was, who is Hush? I think everyone and their mother guessed Thomas Elliot. I know I did. but still like
Honestly, whenever you introduce a character from someone's past at the beginning of a story,
yeah.
and then there's a new villain, there's a better than 80% chance it's going to
Yeah,
be the same.
that guy's the villain or the
Yeah,
woman's the villain. I know. But I think the only thing that threw people was it could have been Two Face because of the raps or whatever, because Harvey was. And I remember when reading it on the bridge, you're like, he had Harvey's gun too, if I remember. He has Harvey's 22 or something like
yeah.
that.
I know they were definitely trying to throw you off. I just
Yeah.
think that no matter what you do with that, it's always going to be difficult.
Yeah. So the thing was, it was Thomas Elliot all along.
Yeah.
But the one thing I liked about it was he was the anti Bruce Wayne.
Hmm.
He was the Bruce Wayne that wanted his parents to pass away to inherit all his money. He didn't like being in his overbearing parents' shadow. Like his mother was super overbearing because she lived. And, she made his life a hell while Bruce inherited money and was able to do whatever he wanted, even though Bruce was miserable and wanted his parents back. So I liked that dichotomy. I thought that was really cool with the
Agreed.
like the yin and yang. But I haven't seen a really good Hush story since. I saw one which was called Heart of Hush, where Hush took Bruce Wayne's face for a while. He had it
Yep.
surgically. That was good. I don't know whatever became of it. Is he still walking around with Bruce Wayne's
I
face,
th-
or
I think they changed it back eventually, but
yeah? So like that
once
was one of those
once they
things.
yeah, or even if they didn't, they just generally forgot about it. But
Yeah,
I
like
think
once he became a yeah.
once the Bat family caught him, they then
Hmm.
basically controlled him and used him as a, oh no, Batman's not Bruce Wayne. Look, here's Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. I think they
So
did.
it was fine, but I think once the story was halfway over, like, how do we end this? And there didn't
Yeah. Well,
seem
I
to
mean,
be
yeah, because
a,
he just had his face changed.
yeah, that there
Like,
didn't seem to be like a logical way to end that part of the story.
it's funny too. And speaking of faces, it reminds me of Face Off, the movie.
I,
What
do you know how often Nick Cage comes up as a topic of conversation in our comic shop?
really? A
Be-
lot?
all the time, and it's
That-
because like there's just this appreciation of Nick Cage
I
in
love Nick
general
Cage.
now,
Hmm.
and you know you can have a really bad movie with Nick Cage
Yeah,
in it,
100%.
but you cannot deny that Nick Cage is giving his everything
All
in
the
said
time.
bad movie.
Yeah,
Is he always good? No, no, he's not.
yeah,
But is he entertaining? More
yeah. Oh
often than
yeah.
not, Nick Cage will be entertaining.
The thing is, I look at him like Carl Urban. Like,
Agreed.
it's not gonna be bad because of Carl Urban. It's gonna be bad because of everything else around Carl
Yeah.
Urban.
Nick
Like,
Cage might not be great in the film,
yeah,
but he's going to be entertaining. And
yeah,
that's what
exactly.
matters.
The other thing is like, speaking of Cage, since we're on the topic of Cage, Johnny Cage, Carl Urban. People, if you've seen it, are like getting pissed off at the posters and the stills of Carl Urban as Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat 2.
I,
Um,
I, I had no idea Carl
oh
Urban
yeah,
was going to be Johnny Cage.
oh
I
yeah,
am immediately excited for it.
yeah. He looks like, does he look like the super pretty boy Johnny Cage? No. This looks like a grizzled Johnny Cage. This movie looks like a darker movie in general, which I'm excited
It
for.
almost looks like I would assume it would look more like Johnny Cage has been an action star for a while, and has
Yes,
gone through stuff. Yeah,
that's what it looks like. And like people are like, no, we want, super handsome Johnny Cage. And I'm like, dude, let the movie play out. Like,
yeah. I
but
Do we want super handsome Johnny Cage? Sure, it'd be fun. Have
yeah,
we
absolutely.
seen super handsome Johnny Cage before, and are we ready for something different?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. So, going, I don't know where we went. Cage, Nick Cage, Johnny Cage, um, Nicholas Cage. I'm genuinely excited for Spider-Man Noir, his series, his live action
Yeah,
series.
yeah.
I am genuine. Just like I like just his narration alone.
hmm
Like I'm so excited for just Spider-Man Noir in every way. Um, but yeah, so it's what? How did we get on the subject of Nick Cage? Face Off. There we go. Oof,
Yeah.
I was able to rein it back.
I was like, wait,
So
there's a reason we're here.
yeah, I was totally like complete like squirrel moment. No, so Face Off is a great movie. I like it. It's a guilty pleasure. Is it is like a masterpiece? No, but it's a fun movie. But it is kind of hokey at the end that they were able to switch the faces back perfectly with
Oh,
no
and
scars.
all of the skull and everything. Yeah, like it's
Not a single
knowing
scar.
now what we know about it is,
Yeah.
like surgery and stuff. Like it's ridiculous, but at the time it was fine. It was fun.
At the time, it was just a good popcorn flick. But yeah, like, and it's just a fun movie, man.
It is. It is.
But yeah, so we'll pivot from toys because I think we beat the Maximo Spidey to death, the Hush. Something I want to talk about. I hope. Did you watch the John Cena heel promo?
No.
Oh, all right, I'm going to talk about it anyway because I've been wanting to talk about this. This is the biggest thing that happened in wrestling in the past, I'd say, 20 years. John Cena turned heel on Cody Rhodes at the Elimination Chamber. Matthew, me, and you, we can go when we get onto our road to WrestleMania. We can talk about this, but I want to talk about this. I dropped hints heavily the last time we were doing Daredevil Born Again. I changed all my phrases to,
Yeah.
John Cena isms, and now we're talking about it. So this week was his actual return to television after he turned heel, and it was in Brussels because WWE is in Europe for the next 3 weeks. So oddly enough, it's on at like 3 p.m. every Monday right now, 3 to 4 p.m., something like that. Um, Everyone was like waiting because it was John Cena and Cody Rhodes under like one roof. And people are like, oh my God, what's he going to look like? What's the new music going to be? What's it going to be? What's it going to be? And all of a sudden, they opened up with John Cena. I figured they would have saved it till the end. Would
Sometimes
like,
it's a smart thing to do.
but they opened up with John Cena, and he comes out to exactly the same music, exactly the same look with the hat, the bands, everything. And instead of running to the ring, he just walks to the ring. And he gets in the ring and he picks up the microphone, puts it to his mouth, then puts it down and goes to leave. The crowd boos like shit. He goes to pick up the microphone again. The crowd boos. He puts it down. He goes to leave. Then the third time he picks it up and he looks at the crowd. And he's just got that mean, grizzled face on him, not the happy, smiley John Cena. He's just got that mean face. And he picks up the microphone. And I'm so excited the character that they're doing with him. He's using his super, like, his IG is always like these inspirational quotes, like look outside yourself, this and that, like all these very inspirational quotes. What they're doing is they're using that IG character but dialing it up to an 11, like he's a pretentious douche, and it's so good. And so the first thing he says, and he's like, when you're properly grounded, you don't have to look outside yourself for approval. And the crowd, you have to watch this segment to get the idea of how bad the crowd booed him. They played this to perfection. His boos were so loud when his music hit, it sounded like this muffled whisper. Now you know the WWE music, they pipe it in loud.
Yep,
It was muffled. You could barely hear the words. You heard like the opening drums, and then you heard none of the words till he got to the ring.
that's
And
awesome.
it's amazing. It's the best. I say this right now, and I know it's recency bias. It's the greatest heel turn of all time, and we've only seen one segment. It's the greatest heel turn of all time. I'm convinced. One, because it took 25 years to do it.
I
They
was gonna say
gested it for 25 years.
it isn't that it's the heel turn per se, it's
It's
that
the
how it
impact.
was done and the
Yeah,
impact of it. I don't think it was a surprise that it was coming.
yeah,
I think that it's just because it wasn't a shock doesn't mean it's not well done.
yeah, yeah. I think it was a massive surprise. I think it was. We got so used to asking for this for year after year that we just gave up on it, and then it happened in his final year.
Ironically, that's why I think it wasn't a surprise because it
Well,
exactly like
Matthew
you
called
said.
it.
Yeah.
Matthew called this to perfection. He literally said, "Look at the words he chose in the press conference," and nobody thought of that. It just got away from everybody. Everyone was like, "Oh, they're just words." And he used carefully crafted words that you should have seen this coming easily.
Hmm.
When John Cena says something like, "What's best for business is John Cena," should have known like right then and there. Heel turn incoming.
Well,
Like,
that's
no.
just it. Like it's one of those things where if you that once we had said on the show, like if you're paying attention, it isn't a surprise, especially after he did everything against what he'd always said. Does he deserve to be in the in elimination chamber? Sure,
Yeah.
but he also hadn't won a match in
2000 plus
2,000
days.
days, right?
Right. And when
So,
you think of that, 2000 days, what is that, like 10 years?
no, it's like 5 or 6 maybe.
5 or 6. Okay. So math is not my strong suit. So the funny thing is, so like they boo the shit out of him. And he opens up with, he goes, "I have been the victim for the last 25 years." And he paced this so perfectly too. He goes, "I've been the victim of an abusive, toxic relationship." And his heel justification was not anything like, "I want the title, I want this, I want that, I'm desperate." It was, "Fuck you, fans. I
Mm,
have done everything I can to endear myself to you for 25 years. And on my final year, you finally start to come around." And he's like, "But you cheer Cody, your shiny new toy." And he's like, "Oh, because you're gonna put me out to pasture." He's like, "I don't think so." I love the thing where he's like, "I tried to give you everything." He's like, "You know what?" He's like, "You don't support me. All you do." And it was great because he's like, "For 25 years, I've been hearing this chant, and the crowd chants, 'Let's go Cena, Cena sucks.'" He goes, "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks." And he goes, "See, that's exactly what I'm talking about." And he goes, "At least the world knows that, the Cena sucks people are jackoffs." He goes, "Now let me tell you why the Let's Go Cena people are just as bad." And he's like, "Oh yeah, you guys, you support me." He's like, "What have you ever done to support me?" And he starts pointing at people in the crowd. He's like, "You, what have you ever done?" He's like, "You, what have you ever done? What have you ever done? What have you ever done?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I see you all." He's like, you've all made me the butt of an invisibility joke for 15 years and it's not funny. And like, he just ripped into the crowd with every grievance he had. And it was great because he was like, I'm not even doing it justice. I'm going to send it to you afterwards, but I really want you to watch it. I really, really want you to watch it. He goes, you hated me when I first came in, so I changed. Then you liked me. Then you hated me again after a few seconds. He's like, and then I thought, well, what do? I work hard. I work harder than I've worked for anyone else. And he's like, and then I win and 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 I win. And he's like, oh yeah, I won a lot. And he's like, and you hated that too. He goes, so then I spend the next 10 years of my career trying to give back and elevate people. And that wasn't good enough for you either. And he's like, you're the problem. He's like, you're the problem. It's not me. He's like, you wear these shirts that you say to support me. He's like, you don't wear them to support me. You wear them to make yourself feel good. He's like, you wear them to make you feel like you have an accomplishment. He's like, when all you do is steal my moments and my victories. He's like, what have you ever done to support me in 25 years except sit on your ass and watch me be great? Oh, it is the best promo, dude. You're like, yes, Roman Reigns was a good heel character. John Cena smokes him in
Uh,
2.5 seconds with how good the nuances of the heel.
it's because when you've got a face character like Cena for so long,
Yeah.
when they finally turn, they
Oh,
can do it really well.
you know what it is? It's the equivalent of Injustice Superman before.
Mm,
Like now, Injustice Superman's so passe. We've seen it
yeah,
before. But when it first came out, when he first kills the Joker by punching his hand through his chest in that storyline, you're like, this is something different. This is something new. Like you're just taken back and you're enthralled. Well, that's the way this is, but I love it. He even addresses it. He goes, you know what you get? You get nothing. You don't get a new look because you dress like me. I don't dress like you. He's like, you don't get new music because that's my voice on that song. And I love how you can even twist the song into the heel turn
yeah.
because he says, your time is finally up and my time is finally now. When the ironic thing is, it feels like it's been seen as time for about 20 years. But if you listen to the lyrics of the song, they even fit because you're like, oh my God, he's addressing the crowd. So, like, this was so nuanced. You could tell that he's had this in the can since 2012. And he's
Yeah.
even done interviews that this is how he would have done it. But it wouldn't have had as much impact in 2012 as it does now because it's got 20 extra years of like building foundation on it.
No, I think that it makes like I was never a Cena guy. I never watched wrestling when Cena was at
Right.
his peak, so I have no real
Oh, dude,
emotional impact to it to
I
Cena turning.
want you to watch this promo, man. I'm telling you how good it is. And
Now,
Cody's response to it, short and sweet, was great too. Like it immediately, if it doesn't hype you for WrestleMania, then I don't know what else will. It's so good. It's so
yeah,
good.
it, it's funny. Like I'm looking forward to watching it, but it's just
Yeah.
one of those things where I'm looking forward to watching it as a relatively new or return
Yeah,
fan,
I
seeing
think you should
seeing
give
how it goes.
WrestleMania a try after this promo. And
I probably will. I just don't think I'll watch it live.
yeah, it's just so good.
So,
But jumping for our last topic,
mm.
and because you got to get going.
Well,
Um,
it's funny you say jumping. The way you say that the Cena's music works so well for him, heel turn or not.
mhm.
I was thinking the same thing can also be said for Metalingus and Adam Copeland. If you listen to the
Oh
lyrics
yeah.
in that, it's like the lyrics have been the same for for a long time,
Yep.
but they seem more relevant now for him
Oh,
than they did
agreed.
before.
Now I'm glad you must be psychic because I was going to jump to AEW.
I
That's the
knew,
final thing.
yeah, I knew where we were going. So
So
I'm going to segue in. It's going to be great.
we'll talk about Mox's bump, but what I want to talk about since you just brought up Adam Copeland, it hurts me as an Adam Copeland fan badly to see how he's being booked. I think they're really missing the boat with him. I really do. I think he had the chance to be AEW's Hulk Hogan's Impact. I think they should have struck. He should have been one of the rare people that came in and won the title right away. You know what I mean? He should have been.
I think
Because
he could have easily done it, and people wouldn't have bat an eyelid.
right,
I'm
but he didn't want to do it that way. I
no,
get it.
and I
I
think
respect that and all, but it would have been better for business. I really
I
think so.
I think in some ways I enjoy the fact that Tony Khan listens to his talent in a way that, hey, I don't think I want to do this. I don't think it makes sense. Okay, sure. Like Daniel Bryan did not want to
Not
win the
at
belt,
all. He
and
forced it on him, and he's like,
I
"Nope."
think yeah, I think Tony's fine. He's like, look, if you're gonna retire, give me this.
Yeah,
I'll do whatever you want, but I want you to be a
to go out on
champion.
top.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think that he definitely will push his ideas to a certain extent, but for the most part, it seems that he's willing to listen to how things go.
my problem with this really bothered me too on Dynamite. This should have been the main event. It
I
was telegraphed very badly, knowing it was in the middle of the show, knowing that there was going to be no title change whatsoever. You
oh,
just knew
you
it,
knew there was gonna be no title change anyway.
and that pissed me
I
off.
so
That pissed me off
I
greatly.
disagree with it being the main event. I think the main event, if nothing else, it wrapped up the Christian Cage having a or having a contract that he can sign at any point,
Yeah,
and
right.
it wrapped it up in a way that it allows that story to carry on. That Christian Cage is like, I got screwed out of it for
Yeah,
reason
yeah,
A, B,
yeah,
and C. It's forcing Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian to question what they're doing.
yeah.
I
I,
think you might be looking at maybe a Nick Wayne turn as well,
yeah, of
which
course. A face
I
turn,
yeah,
definitely.
and I'd be curious to see what's happening because his character is like he's come on leaps and bounds since working
Oh,
with
he has.
Christian.
I still don't like him, but he has.
No, I agree. I don't like the character, but I can appreciate the fact that I don't like it because that's what I'm not supposed to like it.
Yeah,
It ironically the only flaw with MJF's character is that he's still so popular that people just love him genuinely, and
yeah. No, the
he
only
he
flaw
doesn't
with him
really
is he
get.
needs to stay out of the fucking tanning booth. It's getting
Oh
really bad.
yeah, I
He
was
was
looking at.
goddamn orange and brown on Dynamite. All you could see was the white around his eyes.
Yeah, I had a chuckle that when one of his promos against Adam Cole, he calls
Oh,
out his
it's
enemy being a
bad.
spray tan, and it looks like. Anyway, it's one of those things where with Nick Wayne, I appreciate what he does. I'm I enjoy watching him get beat down, and I think that tells me that
Yeah,
I'm enjoying the character to a point.
yeah,
Kind of like Max Caster, I
yeah,
live for his best wrestler alive segments. I
yeah.
think they are absolutely genius, and it's a great
Well, I
way to
love
get
Max
people
Caster.
on.
Period. I love Max Caster.
Same.
He's so underutilized.
Ironically enough, I think his segments right now are getting him the time he needs to really shine for the audience. Like
Yeah,
you're going to start to see them genuinely chanting the "Let's go, Max! You're the best wrestler alive" chant very soon,
yeah,
I think.
yeah,
But it also gets people like Roosh back on TV. It gives Jay
yeah,
White an excuse to come in and show how dominant his character is supposed to be, where he takes Castro out almost immediately.
yeah,
It lets Konosuke Takeshita do his thing.
yeah.
My
So I'm
favorite thing about it was how he was used as like his entire segment was just a Hangman came in, beat the hell out of him, and then went after Max MJF immediately
right.
after, and didn't even think about Caster. And I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, I listen. AEW has some stuff that I really like. I will
Mm-hmm.
say this right now. I think the feud of AEW for me was Mariah May versus Tony Storm. I thought that
One
feud was
hundred
booked
percent.
to brilliance, and
Did
I will say
you
it's oh god, even the
did you watch the Megan Bain versus Chris Statlander main event?
yeah, I did while she was chatting on the mic, like
Yeah,
on the
like
headset.
the
Oh
match
my,
itself was great, but
yeah,
you need
but
to watch it for Tony Storm's
Tony Storm is
commentary.
so good.
So
Oh,
good.
she's so brilliant. Like I
I would
cannot
argue that she
believe.
is doing some of the best character work in wrestling right now.
Period.
Hmm.
In
Period.
wrestling. Yeah. And I loved Mariah May, like even the promo leading up to the, the Hollywood ending when Mariah May was like hugging her on the entrance ramp, holding her, like cradling her, like, look what you
Yeah.
made me do. Oh, so that's a great segue. I'm going to get into the last thing we'll say.
Yeah.
There's a great way to do hardcore in wrestling, which is i.e. Tony Storm and Mariah May. Even with the glass, even with all the stuff. Now that wasn't real glass, by the way. That was what they call sugar glass,
Hmm.
but it looked real because of how well they presented it. The reason Tony was bleeding like a stuck pig was how she cut herself, was she
Yeah,
bladed the wrong
it
way.
it's the same as when Darby Allen went through the glass. That was
Yeah,
technically sugar glass,
it
but
was.
with the way he landed, it still cut the shit out of him. If that was real
Yes.
glass, he would have been in an ambulance immediately, and you'd be
Yeah,
seeing
so
red.
with Tony Storm, she would have been dead.
Yeah,
She would have been cut into
exactly.
pieces. But it was done so poetically. It was done so thematically
Hmm.
that you're just like, this adds to the elevation of the presentation and the feud and everything. It made the blow up so much bigger. Like that match seemed like it was 30 minutes long because it was so epic. It was 12 minutes long,
Yeah,
but it was
I
unbelievable.
if that had been the main event exactly how it
It
was,
should
don't
have been the main
like.
event.
I
It
don't think it
should
should
have.
have been longer. I think,
No.
and again, I've said this before. The issue with the Adam Copeland
Ugh.
and John Moxley main event is that it was good,
It
but
was just good.
it was Adam Copeland and John Moxley, and with
Yep.
those two names, you expect great. And
Yep.
then when you have the three matches before it, and
That was so good.
arguably even the entire card before it, just
Yeah, because
getting
Kenny Omega and Takeshita was great.
that was fantastic. You
Will
had
Ospreay was fucking great with Kyle
in like
Fletcher.
that was exactly like, and you even had MJF and Hangman Page was
That was
phenomenal.
good. Yeah.
Mercedes and Momo Watanabe.
Right.
The
That's
more
what
I
I'm
think
saying.
about
Like,
that match, the more I enjoy the match. The more
yeah.
like I've gone back and I think I went on record as saying at first it was good. The more I
Yeah.
watch it, the more I enjoy it. So you have this entire card where you had potential main event matches. Now, I
Yep.
don't think Mercedes and Momo would have main evented because I don't think Momo
No.
has the
It
name
has the star
recognition
power. Right.
this side of the pond. I
Right.
also don't think the Hurt Syndicate versus the Outrunners would have main evented anything other than a weekly
A
TV show.
dynamite or a collision.
It was
Exactly.
still good. They still
Yeah.
put the Outrunners over as being tough sons of bitches, but that outcome was never in doubt.
No, never. Never once.
However, the the Moxley Copeland match, its flaw is that it was
Yeah.
good.
And
It
its
just
flaw was it dragged. I'm sorry. I
it
understand the focusing on the neck, but it was just the whole thing.
yeah. And
And
that's just it. I think they tried to do more of an old school match to separate from what had gone
yeah.
before because
And I'll be honest, I thought their dynamite was worse than their pay-per-view match.
funny enough, I think it was a better blow off. I don't know if it was Tony Khan realizing that we need to blow it off again, or if Moxley was gonna say, "Hey, we can do better."
Yeah, I don't
Again,
know.
like I
I didn't like it.
enjoyed it more. I think it had a bit more of a blow off with the rest of the Death Riders coming back and showing
I
Copeland
was
why you.
so angry with Willie. Why the fuck? And I knew it too. I was sitting there like,
I,
Willie, you're just gonna ruin this whole
yeah,
goddamn thing.
I
And of
I
course, I
think
hate him
like
so much.
I had to chuckle and Yuta came out after Moxie took the bump on the bat, and he's trying to get it off. And he's like, "Shit, we've got to take care of Copeland to make it look like there's still something going on and to distract
Right.
from this." So
But
that's
I
why I
wasn't
think you see him
chuckling.
run
I
out.
was
But
genuinely like, I almost threw up with that bump.
I I genuinely think, and I was gonna say this before, and this will be the last job
Yeah.
I really have is
That
that
bump made me sick.
I
Sick.
think the obviously it was intentional. Like obviously he
Of
was
course it
going to do
was.
it, but I think the outcome was different than what they expected. Because if you remember, John Moxley took a couple of bumps onto a bed of nails before, right?
Yeah, but you
Landed
couldn't
and got up.
rehearse it, so there's no way to know that it was gonna go that way.
No, exactly. And I think Spike isn't completely flat, had a bit of a
Yep.
curve. And I think when he took a bump onto the bed of nails, not only was it, I think, a scoop slam, but it
Yeah,
was
it was.
probably more controlled.
Yeah.
Whereas a suplex comes down with a
Yeah.
hell of a lot of impact.
Yep.
And then also with the way Spike isn't flat, it
Yeah.
it just rolls him onto it almost.
I
And
think
I
they
think
need to get rid
that's
of
the
Spike. Spike's got to go.
yeah, like the way he hit him initially, that was
Yeah.
fine. Like in the belly, that was fine.
Yeah.
But I think the way it landed, Spike came or he landed on Spike as
Oh
well,
God, it
drove
was,
those in.
dude. It was just, it was gruesome. And when it was stuck to his back, I was not chuckling. I was getting sick to my stomach.
Yeah, I
because
don't think that was intentional at all.
I was like, oh my god. Now
Yeah.
here's the thing. God bless Renee
Did
Paquette.
you see Renee's Instagram post afterwards?
No, I'm gonna have to. But my
She
God,
she said it was in her story. She sent a picture out of Moxie with that on his back and said, "This is my emergency contact," and I laughed.
oh my God, that's funny as shit.
Yeah.
She's a woman, but my God, she must ask him to get a tetanus shot after every time he wrestles. She must be like,
Oh, I'm
do
sure.
not.
I'm sure he got like either he has he has his tetanus up to date, but like there's no way that they're not gonna be.
Oh, I know, but she must be like, don't you fucking
She
touch me
she said
until you
before
get
that
tested.
yeah, she said before that there's been times where he wakes up in a hotel room and the pillow comes with him because the blood from his head.
Oh my God, man.
So
It's just,
I look, don't get me wrong. I as much as I think that the that moment was probably slightly botched,
yeah,
I still think in terms of getting people talking about AEW, it's done its job.
it did. I think they would have been better off doing like the Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay blow off, though. Like the way that that was blown off with the blood and the tags
Mm.
and all, that was more well done. This was just, like, I never want to see this again. I never
I
want to see
look,
this
don't
again
get
in
me wrong.
wrestling.
I'd be happy if that does if you don't see a spike bat stuck in someone's skin again.
Yeah.
I still think that in terms of getting eyes on the product and that sort of thing, it did what it was supposed to do. People are still talking about this almost a week later.
Yeah, you're right. And they're going to be talking about it for a little while because it's one of those
Exactly.
impact points where it's
It's
just,
one of those
wow.
things where now from the discourse I've seen, I find people are talking about this more than the John Cena thing all of a sudden. And I don't know if it's because this is like John Cena is really well done promo. This was
Oh,
almost
God.
completely unexpected, gruesome that you're not expecting to see on TV.
But I don't think this is going to draw new eyes to the product.
I think it has. The
You
question
think
is
it
whether
has?
it, I think it has because if people on TMZ are saying, "Hey, look at this," and people are like, "Well,
Yeah, you're right.
I
Okay.
need to see that."
I
Now,
didn't know that.
whether it's going to continue, same as Raw on Netflix. There's a lot of new eyes that came on that, but there's
Right.
also
You're
a
right.
lot of people that didn't stay around. So I think that's where they're going to be: is can they take advantage of it?
But I
It
also think Raw and Netflix got a lot of those people back too because they're
in
right.
anecdotally, I don't see it from my circle of friends.
Okay.
However,
Good to know.
um, yeah, it's just again that's anecdotal. That's it's a group in Atlantic Canada that didn't really care for it. Now, half of those weren't wrestling fans anyway.
Right. So they
So it
showed something on SmackDown last night that looked suspiciously like Ray Phoenix because they showed like a shadow with somebody rising from a phoenix. And I'm like, geez,
mm,
could we be more Ray Phoenix? I am not a fan of this right now. They better keep
I
them on separate shows. I don't want him getting anywhere near Penta. I want
the
Penta on a solo run.
I think the irony is that Phoenix has damaged his brand with how he reacted to Tony Khan.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
I think that had Penta and Phoenix quietly said to him, "Hey, we're not going to renew our contracts. Can we
Yep.
talk to WWE?" He'd be like, "Sure, just don't don't make me look bad."
Yeah.
Instead, they go on Conan and say,
Yeah.
and say what they said. So of course he's going to be mad.
Yeah, of
Of course
course.
he's going to extend Phoenix,
Yeah, yeah. Listen,
right?
it's
And
nothing that Triple H doesn't do with everybody else. You
exactly,
know, they all do it.
yeah. I'm not mad at Tony Khan for doing what he did. Why would
Business
why would
wise, not at all. For the
no
contracts, no, because
the
you can't. You know, these are
like
IPs.
hmm
You know. Yeah,
everyone knew Jade Cargill was going to the Fed when she was leaving, but
yeah.
she was
Everyone.
quiet about it. She didn't say
Yeah.
anything about it, and she put over Statlander twice on her last two
Oh man, she
matches.
put her over like on a
And
throwaway
right,
rampage.
and Tony did justice to her by giving her spotlights right up until the end.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And that's how business should be done. At the end of the day, it is a business.
It is.
And if Cody ever wanted to go back to AEW, I'm sure that he'd be welcome with open arms.
I'm sure he would be welcome with open arms. But I was
If
thinking about
John
this.
Cena came, he'd be welcome with. Not that he would.
Yeah,
Like I'm
I
not
was
saying
thinking
I
about
don't.
this yesterday, and then we've got to end because I've got to
Yeah.
go too. I was thinking about this yesterday with WWE. I feel like they can gain more from AEW jumpers
Hmm.
than AEW can gain from WWE right now. There's something about Tony Khan's business model that doesn't connect with ratings. Not ratings necessarily, but big time um, promotion.
Yeah,
Because, like, you could put Roman Reigns over in AEW right now. They'd get an initial bump, but I still think WWE would be winning. It's just there's
I,
nobody you can slot in over in AEW. There's not one person, at least,
I think
that can move
too.
that needle right now.
It's in the nature of the audience for AEW. There seems to be more people who really love what they have there. Like
Yeah.
Swerve Strickland came from the WWE as
Mm-hmm.
an
Correct.
afterthought, and now where he is like WWE would love to have him back, and
Oh,
we
a
could have
100%.
right, we could have already done something with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot of things like that where there's a benefit for both promotions, and I'm happy that both promotions are around.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think wrestling would be worse if they lost either one of them.
I agree 100%. I love both. I just don't think there's anybody that you could slot over in AEW that would like boom the needle in the opposite direction. I don't think so.
The
Roman Reigns
not long
wouldn't do it.
term, not long term. Oh, Roman Reigns would definitely do it for a few months,
Yeah, but
but
it wouldn't be
I
long term.
no,
Not long
no,
term.
exactly. So on that note, folks, we are going to end abruptly because we both have to run. So we will catch you next time.
Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.